Hi everybody and happy almost Thanksgiving. This week we are taking a break from our Old Testament covenants and I wanted to talk to you about virtues. So muscle memory is when you become so practiced at something it becomes second nature. So for example, when I was first learning how to drive, it was not second nature at all. I was very stressed. It was, I had to have this very conscious awareness of moving my foot from the gas to the brake and back, and couldn't remember which way to flip the blinker. It was very stressful. And after I was practiced, I developed what's called muscle memory. Muscle memory is almost when your body just knows what to do. You don't have to rehearse it or consciously think about it. You're just able to do it. And driving became one of those things where it was super relaxing because my body just knew how to do it. I knew how to drive. And when I was stressed, I used to just go drive around. I still do that sometimes. And, this is the same thing with learning to tie your shoes. I remember being little and thinking that shoe tying was like one of the greatest mysteries of the universe. I remember teaching my daughter how to tie her shoes, and that resulted in like 2 weeks of her crying every single time we did it. But now it's just second nature. We have that muscle memory that teaches us, it just kind of takes over, ties the shoe. Athletes, artists, musicians, gamers, all of those individuals develop muscle memory associated with whatever their craft is. My husband, he taught himself how to throw a curveball in bowling, and it used to be one of those things that was so deliberate, so conscious, and now he just does it very easily. Something that I don't like about myself is I waste a lot of time on social media, and I have that muscle memory associated with opening my phone and immediately going to some of the apps. You guys are younger than me, so you don't use Facebook as much as I do, but one of the things that I do is I need to order groceries. I open my phone to order groceries or answer a text message, and I go to Facebook immediately because my brain just does it. I have that muscle memory associated with it. So what I do when I want to break that habit, that muscle memory of getting onto Facebook immediately just to read hateful things that people write to each other, is I move the app to a different screen. Then when I open my phone in my hand immediately, as it used to be, it triggers something in my brain that helps me break that cycle. When we talk about our personalities, if you are practiced at lying, eventually, it gets to this place where you automatically provide a lie. If you're constantly lying to your parents, where were you last night? Why were you so late? You will immediately come up with a lie because it's something that has become practiced, very second nature. If you're a practiced bully, if you're always mean to your siblings or your parents, it gets to a place where you don't even think about it anymore. It just pops out. Yeah, okay, that's where I'm at. And what we need to do in those moments, similar to what I was talking about with the app, is we need deliberate ways to develop new muscle memory. When we talk about something that's habitual, it means that it's a habit. Habitual sinning, kind of like what I was talking about with the lying, like it's just constant, it's habitual. Something habitual becomes a law inside of our mind. That is why people are the way that they are, because your life is a habit. Pretty much everything in your life is a habit. So if you've ever wondered when you're in conversation with somebody why you cannot change that person's mind, it's because you're not necessarily competing with like a soft portion of their brain. You're competing with the person's habits, something that has taken them years to develop. That's why when you talk to somebody about their political views, people don't usually sit and think or say to you, oh, I could see things your way. They'll usually fight you because political views become a habit, religious views become a habit, the way we treat other people become habits. Now, when we're talking about habits, you cannot change anyone else's habits. So if you're thinking, if immediately it popped into your head somebody that you argue with or somebody that lies all the time, whose habits you'd like to change, too bad, it's never going to happen. The only thing that you have control over is yourself. That is something that's up to them. They have free will. You have only control over yourself. So when we start to think about developing new habits for us, or new muscle memory, repetition is something that is so important. When I was on swim team, for example. I was learning to do flip turns, which is if you're going to be a efficient racer, you have to be able to flip efficiently at the end of the pool to start the next length of the pool. I couldn't remember the word for it. When my coach saw me do a correct flip turn, he would not let me out of the water until I could do it 10 times in a row correctly, because it forms habit, it forms that law inside of our body. When we imagine how we want things to be, we act as if it is already that way. We fake it till we make it, is basically what I'm talking about. So if you want to become something, act as if you already are. There's that saying that says, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. For example, I always had a fear of public speaking. When I was in high school, if, putting me in front of a group of people, my throat would close up. I couldn't actually speak in front of people. And I was given advice on public speaking from an acting coach, actor/acting coach. Anyway, what he told me is when you are in a position where you have to public speak, you need to pretend you are somebody else. This wasn't like, look out, most people say, oh, just look in the audience, pretend the audience members are in their underwear or something. This was you influencing yourself. You need to put on this act like you are somebody else who loves to public speak. And at first it was not easy. It was something very deliberate. Every time I had to get up in front of somebody and speak, I was, okay, we are somebody else. But the habit grew. And now I have no problem public speaking. I can talk in front of the groups of 100 teenagers, speak in church, teach classes, record these videos. It doesn't bother me anymore because I faked it till I make it, so to speak. And that's one of the biggest keys to breaking these habits, these bad habits that we have also, is you have to fake it till you make it. And I know that doesn't sound, we'll keep going. When we shift from talking about like public speaking, for example, like I said, I was able to public speak. I was on the debate team from there. I was comfortable because I had faked it till I made it. When we look at ourselves, at our moral behavior, sometimes we need to reflect on the world around us to help us make the decision of, do I need to be different? Do I need to be a better person? If we look at the people that surround us and ask ourselves, would the world be better if people were more virtuous, if people were generous with one another? Not just financially, but with attention, with love, with courtesy. If you drove by somebody, you didn't cut them off, would the world be a better place? If people practiced prudence, would the world be a better place? Now, prudence, it's a virtue. What prudence is it's knowing when to say something and when not to say something. For example, say your brother's doing something that's obnoxious or that you don't like. Maybe it would be better for you to be prudent in that moment and not say what you're thinking. Maybe just let it be. That's prudent. So would the world be better if people were more prudent? The internet's an amazing place to look at that for examples because there's lots of people that are not prudent in what they say. Someone posts a picture, somebody comments, you look fat. All right, awesome. Somebody posts a picture wearing a mask, somebody comments, oh, look at you, what an idiot wearing a mask. Things like that. If people practice prudence, would the world be a better place? If we were patient with each other, if we had the courage to do the right thing, would the world be a better place? And if you answer yes to those questions, then you personally should seek to be virtuous. Now, again, we can only change ourselves. We cannot change other people. Other people have free will. They have to make that decision for themselves. But you can change you, and this is where your writing prompt comes. Do you see a benefit to virtuous behavior? And if you do, what do you want to personally strive for to be more virtuous? What virtues would you want to strive for? I'm going to list the virtues later, but so remember, do you see a benefit in virtuous behavior? If you do, what virtues would you personally want to strive for? And if you do not, please explain why. 200 words. So with this, the first most important thing is you must want to behave differently. If you lie and see nothing wrong with that, then you are not likely to seek to be virtuous. Same thing with generosity or courage or prudence or patience or ambition or pridefulness. If you don't see a reason for it, then you're not likely to choose it. When it comes to our behavior, something that Aristotle says is we become virtuous by acting as if we are. Just like what I talked about with me and public speaking, fake it until you make it. What he's saying here is if you want to be a generous person, you kind of got to fake your life like, okay, I'm generous. So it doesn't feel second nature yet. So if you see somebody that's lonely, be generous with your time and go sit with them. Even if it's not natural, you have to train your brain. I'm a generous person. I'm going to sit with my grandfather and watch this football game. Eventually, it will become muscle memory. It'll become a virtue that you practice. Same thing for being courageous and speaking up for people that need you to speak up for them. If you see a kid that's being picked on and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot stand up for them, I'm going to do it. You convince yourself, you stand up for that person. It may not feel good at first, but because you're faking it until you make it, you are acting virtuous even though it's not really in there yet. You're going to teach your body how to be virtuous. Eventually you'll see somebody getting picked on and you'll stand up for them. It'll just happen. It'll be second nature to you. According to Aristotle, just because you behave virtuously, though, doesn't necessarily mean you did it in the right state. So again, we're faking it till we make it. But once you become a virtuous person, you must be virtuous for the right reasons. And Aristotle will list out these reasons for us. So, for example, maybe you didn't gossip today. Which, yeah, it's like, okay, that's virtuous acting. But maybe you didn't gossip just because your throat was sore, and that's the only thing that held you back. So, no credit, basically. Or maybe you didn't get drunk this weekend at a party because nobody had a party. Again, no credit. Aristotle lists these conditions that a virtuous person has to live in. So first, if you're going to be virtuous, you have to do it knowingly. So say that you wanted to cheat on your test at school, but you accidentally forgot the note card that you wrote all the answers on, so you couldn't cheat. No credit, because you didn't do it knowingly. It was a complete accident that you didn't cheat on the test because you forgot the stuff to cheat with. So one, to be a virtuous person, you must do it knowingly. It may not be easy at first, but you must do it knowingly. Second, Aristotle says you have to do it because it's virtuous. So you have to do it because you know it is the right thing to do. You have to be leading with that conscience, that internal compass that says, this is virtuous. Now, for the opposite example, this wouldn't count as virtuous. So say you wanted a good reputation with people. So you sit in the front row at church and you go to youth group because you want to look holy. You don't actually want to be holy. You don't actually want to be good, but you do all these things to get people to look at you and be like, oh my gosh, they're such a good person. That is not virtuous. So that's the wrong motivation. It doesn't count. The third is it must be something that extends over time. So if you have that one time that you told your mother the truth and then you never want to do it ever again, like tomorrow you just start lying again, no credit, doesn't count. The last thing that he says is virtuous acts must be done with enjoyment, and it must be done expecting absolutely nothing in return. The enjoyment part tends to come, kind of like what he had said prior about fake it till you make it. At first, you are probably not going to enjoy sticking up for a kid who's being bullied if it means you're going to get bullied too. That's not going to feel good. Or telling the truth. That may not be done with enjoyment at all. It may mean I told the truth and now I'm getting punished while people are getting away with what happened because they lied. It may not at first be something that hits with enjoyment, but eventually, when you're living a virtuous life, it provides other benefit to you, and it will be. You will do it with enjoyment. Same thing with generosity. If I give up something, if I give, my snack at school to a kid that didn't have a snack and they were really hungry, I need to do it not expecting them to pay me back. Or if I help my sister clean her room, I need to do it not expecting her to clean my room next week because she owes me. Okay? 4 is by far the hardest. Find happiness in helping people who don't help themselves. That's something that's extremely frustrating. When you help somebody who you know has no intentions of ever bettering themselves, it's frustrating. That's what makes that 4th stage so hard. Tell the truth even if you're going to get in trouble. Find peace in not sharing gossip, even though you know that, okay, I'm not gossiping with this group of friends that I have, so they're probably going to gossip about me. Find peace in being virtuous. And these practices, they feel very overwhelming and they're difficult at first, but they do become second nature. You do develop muscle memory for them. Now, this is our last writing prompt for a week. Next week, I'm not sending out a writing prompt, so I want to throw that in there. But as I listed, do you think there's a benefit, your writing prompt, do you think there's a benefit to being virtuous? Here's the virtues that you have to answer those 2 questions. Is there a benefit? Yes or no? Tell me why. What virtues would you personally want to work on? So this is the list of virtues. Courage, temperance. Temperance means doing something in moderation. Not overspending money, not overeating, not partying too hard, not overworking, moderation. So if you just picture with your life, finding everything in the middle. Okay. Liberality, I can never say this. That has to do with spending money. There's magnificence, which is your charisma, your style. Again, you just don't want to go over the top with any of these things. Generosity, pride, patience, friendliness, truthfulness. Surprisingly enough, being witty or funny is a virtue. Modesty, and justice, a sense of right or wrong. I hope all of you have a really good Thanksgiving break, and yeah, this year is weird, but I look forward to reading your writing prompts. I don't like the way my hair looks on this. It's like extra big. I should have fixed it before I recorded the video. But anyway, get those writing prompts in, 200 words, and no writing prompt next week. There will be one the following week. So have a good break.